Okay, today I'm very glad to have a chance to introduce you the primary results about how Arctic sea ice variation linked to the Chinese climate. And here it's for the background and rapid change of Arctic sea ice. And I think most of you may know much about that, so I will just have a brief introduction about this. And as you know, the Arctic sea ice decline is the most important change occurring in the global climate system. And in recent years, especially in the last year in summer, the Arctic sea ice reached its minimum and about 3.4 million square meters. So this is the lowest seasonal minimum extent in the satellite record since 1979. And besides, most of the Mati ice was replaced by the first ice. And now the ice older than 2 years now is account for less than 10% of the ice coverages. And also it's Arctic amplification. Because of the rise of the ice, near surface air temperature has been almost twice as much larger as the global average in recent decades. And in the past, because of sea ice growth rapidly in autumn, so this is a negative feedback to the climate. But now recently, because of the loss of the multi-year sea ice and the increasing of sea ice mobilities, and it also enhance on the health of storage in the sea ice-free ocean. So this is all the positive feedback to the climate. And also in recent years, there are some extreme weathers in China. For example, is the frozen rain in the south of China in 2008. You can see all the, especially in the car, is frozen. And also is the drought of about 1/3 years in the north of China. So it was extreme within the 1,000 years. Okay, so that's what's the effects across the Arctic sea ice rapid changes, and what's the mechanism of the autumn-winter Arctic sea ice impacts on the climate of East Asia, and what's the mechanism of the winter Arctic sea ice impacts the southern atmosphere circles in the Arctic, and what's the relation between the Arctic sea ice retreat and ice extreme weather in the winter. Okay, and this is what I'll just quickly show. It's sea ice retreated in the Arctic oceans, and also it's very dramatic degrees of the sea ice volume. And also in the 2010 summer, large urban waters appears in the central Arctic in 2010, even in the North Pole. And some air-sea interaction, especially strong in the Arctic, will be influenced deeply to the sea ice extent. And there are some main feedback to the Arctic climate. The first is the snow, ice, albedo feedback, and also water vapor feedback, cloud radiation feedback, and ice temperature feedbacks. So it's changing the Arctic Ocean influence during summer and autumn. In the summer, it's summer and lower temperature, lower concentration of sea ice, and also enhanced surface density and cool. So there's some variation, such as increasing of fresh water and shallow the Ekman layer and stratification and the barrier layer. Also in the autumn, lower albedo inside heat from the ocean and the increase of the low cloud, increased humidity, and also changing of ice drifting pattern. Yes. Okay, I will just have a brief introduction of the climate effects on the Asia and also China. The first is the mechanism of the autumn-winter Arctic sea ice impacting on the climate of the East Asia. Yes, all results show that you can see here, it's especially for the Barents Sea and the Coral Sea, the variation of Arctic Sea ice coverage. You can see here, there are significant correlation between the September Arctic sea ice concentrations and the Barents Coral Sea ice concentrations. And that means a special distribution of sea ice concentration anomaly have constant characters, which can provide a possibility to predict Siberian high pressure. And here is some, such kind of the variation is different with AO, and the mechanisms maybe is a negative feedback and also the heat gradient. And you can see here it's the trends of the surface air temperature about the recent 20 years. And all results is the Arctic and the plateau become warm, but Asia might become colder. And we can see here also the air surface temperature in the winter it's much lower. And for these parts, the summary is Arctic sea ice is more effective facts than SST to predict the wind. And also in recent 20 years, the Siberian higher pressure becomes intensive, which lower temperature of the middle and northern Eurasia. So the retreat of the Arctic sea ice will bring the frequently cold winter in middle and higher latitude of East Asia. And the second is the impacts of the winter Arctic sea ice on summer rainfall of Asia. And we can see here is also the increase of the rainfalls in the north of China. And this is also, it's very obvious over in the north of China to increase of the rainfalls, of the summer rainfalls. And also atmospheric circulation also shows the influence to the middle of the high latitude regions, that is northern China. So atmospheric circulation anomaly of North Atlantic in spring is a key link between the Western Grand Sea ice anomaly in winter and autumn, and atmospheric circulation anomaly of Eurasia in summer. It's not the processes that AO affect SST, then SST lead to the atmospheric circulation anomaly. And also the wind sea ice is an effective protection fact for summer Eurasia, atmospheric circulation and rainfalls anomaly. And the last is Arctic sea ice retreat and extreme weather in winter. And here, these figures show the frequency of the extreme weather, and this is increased. And the relation between the Arctic sea ice retreat and also the winter extreme weather in Eurasia, we can see here it's in the northern China, and it will become much cooler and wet, which means the increase of the rainfalls. So at the background of the Arctic sea ice retreat, there are an increased trend of extreme weather in northern middle and high latitudes, and also the precipitation in the winter will be more frequency and strengthening. Yes, and these are all some primary results of our research of the Chinese colleagues. And also there are some, this is for example of the extreme weather. In this summer, there is a very unusual weather in the middle and lower the region of the Yangtze River. So I think I have a conclusion is that Arctic sea ice variation do influence the weather of the middle latitude, and also this is also some primary results, and more research, especially for the international cooperation results, researches are needed in the future. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much.